Hey, I have a new song called Ghost Runner on Second, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what that song's about. The reason being, I think I I definitely am a storyteller. I think I always have been. I don't know how much of a songwriter I am. All I do is get stories and turn them into songs. Um, and this is a little bit different for me because I think it's a little bit cryptic. I think you can kind of figure out in some ways what it's about, but there is kind of a story behind it, and I don't think you would know, and you wouldn't figure it out. And let's face it, I'm not Radiohead, I'm not Pink Floyd. Nobody's going to be on message boards for the next 20 years trying to decipher what I meant by this or that. If I don't tell you, you're not going to know. So I figured I'd tell you about it. So like like a lot of the songs, I end up kind of going back to the well of my kind of formative teenage years because I think that's more interesting than me singing about things that happen now. I don't think you want to hear a song about, I needed to get a report to the project manager on time, or they're gonna give me trouble or something. No, nobody wants to know anything about that. So this actually goes back to when I was like 12. I think it was my seventh grade year. I had my first like best friend situation. I had a friend where every weekend either I would go to his house, he would go to my house. We both had great situations. We lived out in the country. I think he had the best situation because he had it all. He was in this little neighborhood where there was a creek, a little pond, actually it was a little river, I should say, that emptied into this pond where you could fish, and great fishing there. He had a big field where we could play football. We'd worked out that, this tree's one goal line, the edge of the house is the other. 8-foot basketball goal that chubby kids could dunk on. We had a little baseball diamond out there. Just enough neighborhood kids where we could get some kind of game together. So it was fun. We always had a great time. And then, to wind down at the end of the day, we'd go inside and play Nintendo or whatever. And so we had a great time all year. And then summer came and we were fishing. And this random kid walked up. And I've never seen him in my life. And then my friend was like, "Hey, Billy, what's up? Long time no see." And they're like high-fiving and stuff. And I'm like, "Who's this kid? I've never seen him in my life." And we're on the same bus route. I've never seen him. And after he leaves, I'm like, "Who the hell was that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's Billy." And Billy is like part of some custody situation with his parents where he goes to school somewhere else during the year, but he comes here during the summer. And so he's going to be here all summer. And which was great. He was really cool. He was a real tiny kid, kind of quiet. He was a couple of years younger than us. He was smaller than us, but he would just kind of follow us around, and he was up for whatever. I mean, if we wanted to fish, we'd give him the crappiest pole. He'd fish with us. If we were playing football, he'd get run over by us. If we were playing basketball, he's getting dunked on. Swinging and missing at our pitches in baseball. I mean, it was just like he just took a licking. I mean, and just got right back up, and never complained about anything. Didn't talk much, but he was good to have around. I really liked him. And then the end of the summer came, and he just disappeared. And that was that. Just didn't show up one day. He wasn't big on hellos or goodbyes. We didn't have his phone number. We didn't know which house he lived in. We couldn't see it from where my friend lived. And then, next summer comes, he shows up, and he was there all summer. We're all a little bit taller, but other than that, same stuff. And we had a good time with him. And then, into 8th grade summer, he's gone. And then, but then 9th grade summer came, and he never showed up. And we didn't notice at first. He was always an understated but welcome part of our crew. And it didn't come up much during the summer, but I think there were a couple of times we were a little understaffed, or we're kind of sitting around like, "Hey, where's Billy?" And he just never showed up. So school year starts, and I don't know if it was that year. It could have even been the year after, but one way or another, we found out he died, and that's why he never came back. And it was just kind of like, oh, that sucks. And that was kind of that. And it didn't really come up again because I don't know, we didn't really properly mourn him because it didn't seem real. It's just like we only saw him during the summer. I think, I halfway just expected him to show up one day. It just didn't seem real, so I don't think we ever really processed it. And that's kind of really the true story that I based this song off of. Now the rest of it's fiction because it kind of came to me while I was driving down the road a few months ago. I saw a couple of like chubby junior high kids walk in, and there was this smaller kid that was kind of like jogging to keep up with them, and they had fishing poles. And it reminded me of me and my friend and this Billy kid. And it got this story kind of swirling around in my head that I ended up putting into a song. I thought about putting it into a short story. I do write short stories. Nobody's ever seen any of them. I write them. But I still might do that with this, but really what the story came down to was the idea, and I made a lot of assumptions for the purpose of the fiction of this song. For one, I just assumed that he was killed in a car accident. Who knows? I don't know, and I will never know, because I don't know if he lived one town over. I don't know if he lived in Washington State. I don't know if he lived in Ukraine, for all I know. I mean, like, I just always had it in my head he lived a couple of towns over. But I don't know. I don't know his name. I don't know what year it was. But I just made the assumption that he died in a car accident. And I also made a big stretch of an assumption that because he didn't talk much about his life back home and whatever situation he had, that it wasn't a good situation. And maybe the time that he spent with us, because he was like a core member of our friend group, were his best times. And, not to flatter ourselves or anything. That's not what I mean by that, but it's just something I made that assumption for purposes of the story and or song. And the idea is that he dies and he kind of wakes up in the afterlife and finds himself into his favorite place, like the place where he loved being the most during his time on Earth in the mortal realm. And he's at the pond where we would always go fishing. And he's like looking for us, but we have our lives. We're going to school and stuff like that. And at first we come around some and he sees us, and then we kind of go away, and then we just get older and we get older. But he's like trapped in this like 11-year-old mind, and he's just stuck at this place. And eventually, all he sees is us just kind of driving by. We've gotten older. We're playing varsity sports now. We're getting girlfriends, whatever. And eventually we all move away. He doesn't see us again. And he just kind of is stuck in this limbo of kind of waiting around for us. And kind of where I had the story go to the end, and it kind of sucks about writing a song, is it just, unless we want to make a 45-minute song, you've only got so much story to tell. And basically where I had this ending was he has been waiting there. He doesn't know how long. He's not 100% sure if he's alive or dead, but he knows he's waiting on us. And he sees us show up, but we're actually back in town for like one of the parents' funerals or something like that. And we're now like in our 50s, and we're like parents. We've got like grown kids. One of us got a knee brace, and we're just older. And we decided to just go throw a line out and go fishing. And we go back to the pond, and he sees us, and he recognizes that we're older, but he also recognizes us, and he's just kind of there with us watching. And really that's kind of the story behind it. And I wrote a song about that. I hope somebody likes it. And yeah, that's it. Later.